I'm going to look at selection in JavaScript. So this is where we use if statements. Now we're going to do a little program here that basically says if it's morning time says good morning, if it's afternoon time says good afternoon, if it's evening time says good evening. So let's get started with this. Before we get into writing the if statements, we need to set up a few variables here. We need to set up a variable here called t. So we've got var t here, which is going to stand for time, and then we're going to set the time to be equal to 400 there, which is the same as 400 hours. So let's set up our if statement here. So we use relational and Boolean operators here. So the time is less than 300 hours. And so this is a Boolean operator for and. So that's what those two ands there represent, the Boolean operator for and then we do t is, so that needs to be, so t is greater than or equal to 300 and t is less than 1200. We're going to do document dot write good morning, and we shall save that, make sure semicolon's in there, save it and run that. So therefore that's working correctly for us. Good morning. Let's make sure that if, for example, we're outside that time limit, so if we say we're 1 o'clock in the morning, it's now not got anything. So that's what we wanted. Okay, good. Now we can put in some other if clauses. So else if time t is greater than or equal to 1200 and less than, say, 1700, I guess that's what we consider the afternoon. We shall have good afternoon for that. Good. Misspelled morning there. Good afternoon. And we can put some additional clauses in there as well. We can have between 1700 and, let's say, 2100, we can have that to be good evening, and that should be there. It's not quite correct. That's t should be like that, and t should be like that. Should be good evening. And otherwise else, so if it's between 2100 hours and 3 in the morning, we can say good night. I think that's reasonable. You might not agree with my times on that, but that's what I've gone with anyway. So we've got document right there, and then we can change that to document right good night. So that's the code there, and we can run it now to see if it works. We can change this value of t here to see what's going on there. So let's change that value now, let's say to give us good afternoon. So we know that it works for good morning. Let's try for good afternoon. So that's going to be, let's say, 1300 hours. Let's refresh that. It's got good afternoon. That's good for us. So now let's try 1800 hours. Let's try that now. It should say good evening. Great. If it says, let's say, 100 hours, 1 o'clock in the morning, we should say good night. Yes. So that's it. So it all works nicely for us.